Hello everyone, this is our second discussion video for the course Edu 55, the teaching profession. We have successfully completed exploring teaching as a profession, specifically about its element and historical development as a profession. Now, we will be moving on to looking at teaching as a vocation and as a mission. In line with this, at the end of the discussion, you are expected to have 90% proficiency in reflecting on your personal understanding about teaching as a vocation and as a mission. Before we officially start the lesson, I want to remind you again that I used some pictures and examples here from my personal experience in the teaching profession, so that you could have a more concrete understanding of the lesson through practical examples. And as I have said on the previous video, in line with that thinking, please do not share or post any part of this presentation without my permission. Thank you so much for understanding and for following that simple request. Now that that is settled, as a sort of preparation for what we are about to discuss, here are two keywords which we will be elaborating in this lesson: vocation and mission. First, vocation. Vocation came from the Latin root word vocare, which means to call. To be reminded of teaching as a vocation, remember that it means that you have been called to be here. On the other hand, mission came from the Latin root word mittere, which means to send. To be reminded of teaching as a mission, remember that it means that you have been sent to do this. But really, what do the words vocation and mission mean in the context of being in the teaching profession? Before we get to the nitty-gritty of teaching as a vocation and as a mission, let us look at this quotation from Dr. Giuseppe Bio. It is interesting to note that Dr. Bio had the Florian Main Belt asteroid 13241 Bio named after her after she won the International Excellence in Teaching Award during the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair in 2002. Sorry for that tangent. Anyway, Dr. Bias said, teaching may not be a lucrative position. It cannot guarantee financial security. It even means investing your personal time, energy, and resources. Sometimes it means disappointments, heartaches, and pains. But touching the hearts of people and opening the minds of children can give you joy and contentment which money could not buy. These are the moments I teach for. These are the moments I live for. Now, pause this video for a minute or two to think about what this means for you. Read the quotation again and reflect on it. Do you understand what Dr. Bio means in this quotation? If yes, are you still willing to pursue this profession and stay in it? Are you still willing to take this program and see it through? Again, pause this video and reflect on Dr. Bio's statement. Wow, that was a powerful moment of reflection we just had there. And that is just the start. Before moving on to the specific contents, here is the lesson outline that will guide you throughout our discussion for today. Mainly, we will be discussing about teaching as a vocation and teaching as a mission. But there are also some additional topics that you would want to explore on so that teaching as a vocation and as a mission could be ingrained more in your journey as a prospective teacher. Again, this is the lesson outline. Teaching as a vocation, teaching as a mission, teaching in a life of meaning, and pwede na mentality, the enemy of excellent mission preparation and accomplishment. Let us start with looking at teaching as a vocation through this quick survey. Just answer the following yes/no questions. First question: do you have a deep-seated belief that teaching is the only profession that makes sense for you to pursue? Second question, do you have a desire to work with the youth? Third question, do you want to make a change by influencing the future members of the society? Fourth question, do you have a desire to impart meaningful knowledge about something you are passionate about? Fifth question, do you want to implement different teaching learning techniques? And the last and sixth question, are you influenced by your environment to become a teacher? If you answered 3 to 6 of these questions over these 6 items with a firm yes, then based on our pre-assessment, you have been definitely called to be here. Your calling is to be a teacher. If you answered half or most of these questions with a no, or even if you just had doubts while answering the questions, do not worry even a single bit. Finding our calling is a tough thing to do. Personally, I actually relate to you, the latter group, because despite my years of teaching and me actually discussing these things right now with you, I'm not really 100% sure myself if I can say that teaching is my calling. So again, even if you feel unsure right now, it's okay. Do not worry about it. We will be deep diving into teaching as a vocation, as a mission, and other topics for you to explore to confirm to yourself if you really want to pursue this long term. With that out of the way, let us discuss teaching as a vocation. Going back to the aforementioned meaning of the term, vocation refers to a call to do something, and whatever your calling is, the call is always to serve. Whether to serve in a company, serve people in need, or even serve yourself. However, in your case as students of the Bachelor of Secondary Education program, it means you are here because you are called to teach. You are called to serve in the teaching profession. Serving, or even just answering the call to serve, takes a lot of grit and passion in the fun and good times, and most especially in the trying and hard times. In the teaching profession, the fun and good times are already exhausting, time and effort consuming, and emotionally draining. How much more on the trying and hard times? In a very recent example, like serving during a time of a global pandemic. However, I am sure that the fact that you are here in this program means that you answered yes to the call to teach. It may just be a weak and undecided yes right now, but you still said yes. And when we say yes to something, it means we are willing to see it or try it out, even just for a little bit, maybe. Of course, we hope that our yes responses, no matter what their status or level of strength right now is, if they are a bit undecided or 100% firm already, we hope that our yes responses can remain a yes and become even firmer through the years. Maybe you are like me, who never dreamed of being a teacher, but here you are now, preparing to be one, and here I am now teaching you about it. So therefore, teaching may be just our calling, don't you think? But of course, if along the road, you and me, or we, if we ever feel like the teaching profession is not our calling, remember that it is totally okay. We will not be considered a failure because of it. It just means that we have to know and understand ourselves more, or even go and explore more so that we can determine our vocations. To sum it up, in simple terms, teaching as a vocation means that there is something in teaching that you find attractive, something in it that calls out to you to be a part of this profession. The next part of the discussion is teaching as a mission. Let's start it by reflecting on the following statements. If you are doing it not for the pay but also for the service, If you keep on teaching out of love, it's a mission. If you are committed to teaching, even if it means letting go of other activities, if you remain teaching even though nobody recognizes your efforts, if it makes you excited, if your concern is success plus faithfulness, then it is a mission. As you can see, these statements are more about exploring things once you have already answered yes to your vocation. This is how vocation and mission are related. You were called for a purpose. In this case, since you are BSc students, that purpose is to accomplish your mission on earth, which is to teach. Since you responded to the call to be a teacher, the task entrusted to you in this world, the one that you are expected to accomplish, basically, your mission is to teach. Of course, if you said yes and accepted your assigned task, you have to prepare yourself for it. From now on, you cannot take your 4 years of studying for granted. As John Dewey once said, education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. You must take your teacher preparation journey seriously. Ingest, apply, and reflect on all knowledge, skills, and attitudes that you will be gathering and acquiring throughout your 4 years of studying. And, as you might have expected, it does not end there. You will still embark on continuing professional development because teachers are expected to be lifelong learners. As they said, once a teacher, forever a student. In this slide, I used my own pictures, as you can see, from when I was still a student training here. As you can see on the leftmost picture on the screen, that is me doing a laboratory activity in the science lab. The second leftmost picture and the third leftmost picture, those pictures are during my internship or my practice teaching. And the last one, the rightmost picture, this picture was captured when I was already a teacher here at Cavite State University Carmona campus when I embarked on continuing professional development by attending conferences and trainings related to my field of specialization. So again, from left to right, this is me doing my teacher training as a prospective teacher and finally doing continuing professional development as an in-service teacher in this university. So you see, even if I have been saying that I'm really not sure if teaching is my calling, I would never, ever use it as an excuse to be mediocre. I always put my best foot forward and accomplished the tasks with the utmost best of my capabilities because that is a part of our mission to teach. Again, once you have said yes to the calling, you have to accomplish your task or your mission in the best way that you can. Going back to Dr. Bio's statements, you might have reflected by now that teaching is not an easy vocation, and it certainly is not an easy mission. You have to put a lot of time and effort to teaching because there is a lot of responsibility in this profession. We simply do not deposit facts and skills on the empty minds of the students. We are entrusted to help and guide students so that they could make their own lives meaningful and so that they could become the best version of themselves. And that is the end of the discussion on teaching as a mission. But in line with teaching as a vocation and as a mission, let us look at teaching and a life of meaning as well as the pwede na mentality, which is considered as the enemy of excellent mission preparation and accomplishment. First, teaching and a life of meaning. Do you want to give your life a meaning? Do you want to live a purpose-driven life? Then, spend it passionately in teaching, the noblest profession. As you can see on the pictures provided here, teachers are really not expected to just clock out when it's already 5 p.m. Teachers are expected to do more because teaching is a profession that involves guiding and helping the next generation. Even if we have to sometimes sacrifice our personal times to give remedial classes for those students who need extra attention, or even to serve as a frontliner in times of a global pandemic, teachers are expected to be there, to show up and do our best given the situations. Of course, there may be times when we will feel like giving up. In fact, many people leave the teaching profession in 3 or 5 or even 10 years into teaching. But remember that you responded to the call to teach and that you have accepted the mission to teach. So basically, this slide is to hoping that you may be found faithful to your vocation and mission until the end. The last topic for this discussion video is the pwede na mentality, enemy of excellent mission preparation and accomplishment. This is basically more like a warning, like never ever fall into the pwede na mentality. How do you know that you are falling prey to the pwede na mentality then? Here are some expressions related to it. When you find yourself thinking or saying the following, it may be high time to reevaluate yourself or why you are still staying in the teaching profession. Expressions like, okay na yan, talagang ganyan, wala tayong magagawa, di na yan mahahalata, di naman kasama sa kontrata ko yan, di ko na yan sagot, dagdag trabaho o gastos lang yan, galawang insert salary lang, mga galawang 20 lang, mga ganyan, and huwag magpabibo kung ayaw malunod sa trabaho. When you find yourself thinking or saying these things or anything related to this, you may want to take a step back and breathe and evaluate whether you still want to stay in the teaching profession or not. Because when you do these kinds of things, it means that you are falling prey to mediocrity. And teachers should not be mediocre. We have a big responsibility. We have to guide and help the students, which are the future generation, and our role is core in nation building because education and nation building go hand in hand. And we as teachers are a core part of the educative process. So, if you are staying in the teaching profession and being mediocre in this profession, I suggest you just leave because you are not only affecting yourself, you are affecting and influencing a lot of people, a lot of generations, a lot of citizens of the country. That's how big and important the role of the teacher is and how large the scope of our influence is. But of course, as the cliche says, with great power, the influence, comes great responsibilities. Remember that a professional teacher who looks at teaching as their mission will do everything to arm themselves for an excellent accomplishment of that mission. Thus, if you want to stay in this program and pursue this profession, always put your best foot forward. Do your utmost best in this profession and strive to accomplish your mission as a teacher with excellence. This pwede na mentality is inimical to excellence, and the earlier presented statements like talagang ganyan, wala na tayong magagawa, di na yan mahahalata, di ko na yan sagot, dagdag trabaho or gastos lang yan, those statements are indicators of defeatism and resignation to mediocrity. As a BSE teacher, I always tell my students to find the healthy balance of what the students' needs and wants are and the best output that you can provide as educators in specific situations. Basically, do your best but do not let yourself get burnt out. Why? Because how can you give and do your best if you yourself is not at 100% status? Remember, Ma'am JL's tip, be the best teacher to your students without sacrificing being the best person to yourself. So again, remember, find a healthy balance between what your students' needs and wants are and the best output that you can provide as a teacher in consideration of the present situation. So that was another tangent. I'm sorry about that. Please excuse me. Anyway, that ends our discussion for today. We are done with the Pwede na mentality, enemy of excellent mission preparation and accomplishment, which is a warning for everybody to not fall prey to mediocrity. As a conclusion for this topic, let's look at this last slide. If we remain true to our calling and mission as a professional teacher, we have no choice but to take the endless and the less traveled road to excellence. As is obvious on this quotation, taking the road to excellence is endless and is less traveled because it is not easy. But, as is obvious, and as I have been emphasizing throughout this lesson, mediocrity is not accepted if you are going to be influencing the future of the youth and in turn, the future of the nation. And that ends our second lesson in Edu 55, the teaching profession, which focuses on teaching as a vocation and as a mission. Reminder that your learning activity 2 is a combination of the scope of lesson 1, teaching as a profession, and lesson 2, teaching as a vocation and as a mission. Lastly, this book is the main reference for this discussion. Thank you for listening. That would be all for today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!